President of Nigeria, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, GCFR, the co-chair of the African Champions Initiative and former President of South Africa, President Thabo Mbeki, and the co-chair, the second co-chair of the African Champions Initiative, President of Dangote Group, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, the African Union Commissioner for Trade and Industry, Albert Muchanga, founder of EcoBank, Gervais Jondo, and all African business leaders here present. Distinguished guests, the conveners, the African Champions Initiative, ladies and gentlemen. Let me say how honored I am to join this distinguished company to witness the Afrochampions, the presentation of the Afrochampions Initiative. And I must say that any idea that has managed to attract the interest of two of Africa's most far-sighted leaders, President Olusegun Obasanjo and Thabo Mbeki, and Africa's foremost entrepreneur, and Africa's richest man, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, must be a good idea indeed. Who am I to say that such is not a good idea? Even if it's not a good idea, they will make sure that it becomes one. But seriously, in the last few years, it has become obvious to many African countries that both the momentum and common sense are in favor of the private sector leading our economies and championing initiatives that will drive intra-African trade and commerce. The role of the public sector is to catalyze, to umpire, and to incentivize. But whether we like it or not, the private sector in Africa is already building world-class brands and trading everywhere. And I think that was obvious from the last but one presentation. In manufacturing, the Dangote Group is already manufacturing in several African countries, manufacturing cement in several African countries. In banking, EcoBank, UBA, GTB, Access Bank are all doing incredible things across the African continent. In telecoms, MTN, broadband infrastructure, Main One are doing business everywhere on the continent. But despite the rhetoric of African governments since the days of the OEU and now the AU, our governments appear to be late starters in concrete action. Regional integration is a key requirement for the region's development, but it remains at very low levels. And I think that the Commissioner has already mentioned some of the reasons why. We still have one of the lowest trade integration levels at under 20%, while Asia is in the 40th percentile, and European integration is much further ahead at about 60%. The fact remains that other regions play as a bloc, but Africa is still largely splintered into several different economies. And the ease of doing business across the region remains a significant challenge. But I'm pleased to say, though, that all of that is changing. Flowing from the Agenda 2063 of the African Union, the Continental Free Trade Area Initiative, which we just heard about, the launch of the African Passport, and other initiatives on the free movement of persons, it is becoming clearer and clearer how we intend to grow in regional integration, and it's becoming clearer and clearer how quickly we can move. The summit of the heads of states of the African Union in July again focused on several of these initiatives, and I'm convinced that we are on the threshold of seeing a deeper and more integrated African market. On our part in Nigeria, it is clearly for us a strategic priority that we have a single integrated African market that's deep enough to do all of what we can do on our potential. Already, Nigerian goods are all over Africa, but as you know, mostly through informal channels. A formalized market is therefore important to us, such that we can benefit maximally. But these public sector initiatives need a sense of urgency that the private sector will bring. This is why we certainly believe in the Afrochampions Initiative, because we think that It is the private sector that will do what is required to bring the urgency, to bring the sense of mission to all that we've been trying to do in the African Union. I would like to see greater synergy and collaboration between the Afrochampions and all the organs of the AU involved in economic integration issues. Their enthusiasm and energy is perhaps the shot in the arm that the AU needs at this time. So I'd like to congratulate the chair and co-chair and Mr. Adam and the other visionaries of the Afro-Champions Initiative on this very visionary initiative. I want to say that we are well and truly behind you. Well done indeed. Thank you very much.